Never give up. In a quiet village nestled between rolling hills, there lived a young boy named Luca. His dream was to become a master carpenter, like his grandfather, who had built many of the village's most beautiful homes. But Luca wasn't like his grandfather. He struggled with every tool in his workshop. Nails bent under his hammer, wood splintered when he sawed, and even the simplest chair would wobble. Yet, Luca was determined. His friends often laughed at him. "Why do you keep trying, Luca? You'll never be as good as your grandfather," they would say. But Luca kept his head down and worked harder each day. He spent hours watching his grandfather, trying to understand the rhythm of his hands as they shaped the wood into something beautiful. "Patience, Luca," his grandfather would often say. "Mastery comes with time, not just effort." One day, a massive storm swept through the village. The winds howled, and the rain poured in torrents. By morning, the villagers discovered that the old community hall, a building that had stood for over a century, had been severely damaged. Its roof had caved in, and the walls were barely standing. It seemed as though no one could repair it, and the village was devastated. The mayor called a meeting. "We need someone who can rebuild the hall," he said. "But it will be no easy task. It will take strength, skill, and patience." Luca stepped forward, though his heart was pounding in his chest. "I'll do it," he said, his voice shaking but determined. The villagers gasped. "You? But Luca, you've never built anything so big. You'll never finish it in time." Luca took a deep breath. He couldn't let fear stop him now. "I'll try my best," he said. The next few days were long and exhausting. Luca worked alone, hauling wood, fixing beams and carefully measuring each piece of the structure. The villagers often passed by, shaking their heads. "It's impossible," they whispered. But Luca refused to listen to their doubts. He worked from dawn until dusk, his hands sore and covered in splinters. Every time a mistake was made, he would pause, learn from it, and keep going. Finally, after weeks of tireless effort, the day of the grand unveiling arrived. The community hall stood tall, restored to its former glory, stronger than ever. The villagers gathered, astonished by the work Luca had done. Luca stood in front of them, sweat dripping from his forehead, but his heart swelled with pride. He had not only rebuilt the hall, he had proven something even more important. He had shown them and himself that with hard work, persistence, and a refusal to give up, anything was possible. The mayor came forward and shook Luca's hand. "You've shown true strength, Luca, not just in your hands, but in your heart. You never gave up." And from that day on, whenever the villagers faced a challenge, they would remember the lesson that Luca taught them. Never give up. Even in the face of doubt, perseverance would lead to success. Luca smiled, knowing that the real reward was not in the finished hall, but in the courage to keep going, no matter how hard it seemed.